bank. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm get to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Hey, hey, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Hey.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 in Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. We got a solo show today, so we're going to be breaking down some true headlines. We got guests coming on, I'm pretty sure, every day this week. We also have a one of those pre-recorded episodes from my time out at IANA that is going to be released here this week as well, to get some of that front and center out there, you guys. But I do want to make a couple of quick announcements here before we get in. Obviously, you guys, I had a good friend of mine on the show a couple of weeks ago, Matt Parker, and we were talking about his friend Sergeant Murphy, and the GoFundMe link and everything that we to help support his kids. And we have, I'm proud to say, like, we've already raised almost $1,000 for that, you guys. And we want to keep pushing. They want to get up to $30,000 on this. We're going to keep pushing this message out there. And we're at 7 on it right now. $7,161 is where the total amount is. We want to get that to 30. And this show is driven in almost $1,000 of that too. So I'm proud to admit that. Again, you guys, the link to that GoFundMe, I'm going to drop it in. It's going to show up on YouTube right now, but it's also listed in the show notes. If you want to check it out on iTunes and Spotify, you can go out there and just, support in any way, you guys. No donation is too small. I have just found that the most important donations are those ones that come in just a couple of bucks here and there, you guys. It means the world to his family and to his unit out there, and especially to my good friend Matt, who is on the show to share that story and go on to that, you guys. So I'm always going to use this platform to try and help other causes and stuff like that, because I think it's very, very important to use social media for the good. There's enough of the bad out there on social media, and you guys can take that for what it's worth. But I'm just not going to partake in this. I'm going to always use this platform to try and help others with it. And I've been very blessed to be able to grow this show into what I have, and social media and stuff like that out there. And another thing. So I made a post last week about freedom of speech, and and then also with some of the other high profile cases that have came out in the industry over the years. I take the stance of like waiting to comment on a lot of stuff, because I feel like we're in a headline chasing and the first to report kind of society now. With everything on social media, a lot of people are out there trying to post stuff for whatever reason, right? I'm not here to knock anybody's hustle, but I look at a lot of the high profile cases in our country right now, and then the situations, and especially inside of the transportation industry. And there's a lot of people who like to just put an opinion out there for the sake of putting an opinion out there. And, they're trying to capitalize on a lot of those events to try and go viral, or, get famous, or whatever that looks like. And, I look at it and I said this the other week, but I'm going to say it again. Like, I take this show very seriously. And like when I comment on things, and, because there are people who listen to this as, a form of advice, which is still crazy to this day, but like that, I take that very, very responsible, as a high responsibility. And I'm going to continue to do that. Right. And, there's obviously been the thing that was, all over the, social media and the media, and, which, the assassination that took place there on September 10th. And, I haven't really commented on that at all on this show, because, frankly, out of, I do like to wait for a lot of things to come out. And I'm sure everybody's out there has seen, the video, and, the aftermath and everything that has came out about that. And, my post the other week coincided of like, because I am a free speech absolutist at the end of the day. And I truly, truly believe in it. It is a God-given right. It's not a government-given right. Just like everything in this country is supposed to be a God-given right out there. And I think like there's one thing that I feel like is very apparent that, I'm going to actually read you guys what the First Amendment actually says verbatim. And you can check this out on constitution.congress.gov. You can go and read this. But it says, Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, right? Because like the term freedom of speech is thrown out there. But I feel like one thing that's very important to note is there is no mention of freedom of consequences, right? And I'm saying a lot of this because I've seen everything that you guys have seen here on the social media and media here these last couple of weeks, and and especially a lot of it started back when that accident happened in Florida. That was highly publicized out there on social media, and I see so many people so quick to go out there and just state an opinion on something, but it's more coming from like, they think that they can just say whatever they want and then like nothing can happen from it, right? And I guess I came from a different era. I didn't grow up in social media era. I was, I was a 90s, 80s baby, grew up in the 90s and graduated early 2000s from high school. And, and again, when I say I'm freedom of speech absolutist, I believe in it, but I also understand that like I can get punched in the fucking face if I say some stupid stuff out there. And I think that a lot of people are kind of seeing that for the first time, but in a digital sense, right? And it's not from, you can say whatever you want, but like it's not free from consequences of what can happen of that, right? And I just think that, I wish more people would utilize social media as the tool that I feel like it could be used for, which is to like better things, right? And to have open and honest conversations about stuff. And especially here in the transportation industry. This isn't a political show at all. This is just a show by transportation professionals for transportation professionals. We talk about politics and current events in regards to the industry, but I'm not going to chase headlines. I'm not going to be TMZ of freight. I'm not going to go out there and do that. I'm going to continue my overall mission, which is to build an education platform for the industry by people who are going to utilize it, that, the people who care and love about, this industry. And I'm always going to take my time to publicly comment on a lot of stuff because I want to get it right. And I could be wrong, and fully I'm going to, admit it if I am, but I think like that's one thing that I don't see a lot out there, even in the mainstream media. And if they do that, it's on like page 90 of their website, offering a redaction or, correction and stuff like that. So, from my perspective, it's very important to go out there and wait to say the right thing out there. And I'm going to continue to do that with it, but I'm also going to call balls and strikes. I call out the current administration on this show in regards to transportation. That doesn't change my opinion of who I feel like is best for the job out there, but I'm going to call balls and strikes, right? Because like at the end of the day, we have to call it for what it is. It's just open and honest dialogue out there. You can like what somebody does in some regards, and then you could also not like what somebody does in regards and have a constructive conversation about it, right? Like I think that the most high profile situation that's going on in our industry right now is in regards to tariffs. I'm a fan of reindustrializing the United States of America. I know it's going to be messy in the beginning stages of it, but I think it's highly irresponsible to flip-flop on the percentages of tariffs that you're going out there and charging other countries to do it, right? Like you can't be at 25% one moment and then, I'm going to raise it to 897% because I had a bad moment. And then, never mind, they're good. They said something nice and I'm going to drop it back down to 10%. I feel like it's highly irresponsible for the after effect, which is the businesses here in the United States that I feel like are ultimately dealing with that in the short term. But I feel like in the long term, reindustrializing the United States, strengthening our country is a very solid plan. It's just kind of messy early on out there. And and then same thing with ELP, for example. That's the other biggest hot button issue, that is going on in the transportation industry right now. And I broke down the stats, right? And I'm glad I waited on that, because a lot more information has came out about that. And, especially with, HB1 visas and everything else that come along with it. And, it's one of those things that I just want to see a set standard, and then that standard applied to all 50 states, right? Like, as somebody here who is a business owner, who is paying taxes, I don't want any special circumstances for anybody, right? Like, I want to be given the same hand out here to build my business that everybody else is held to that. And I don't believe in shortcuts. I don't believe that just because you operate in the state of California, you have different rules than me here in Arizona or somebody in Minnesota or Florida, right? Like, I feel like when it comes down to it, the Department of Transportation, the FMCSA, they have to be like equal rules across the board. Everybody should be held to the same standard. There should be no way that somebody can circumvent the system without repercussions from the law if they're breaking the law, right? Like, I think it's very simple, right? If you're breaking the law, you should not be allowed to do that anymore, right? Because I know that if I broke the law, I would be thrown in jail. And I just don't think that, like, the fairness of it is, I'm not here to argue that, but I feel like at the end of the day, the government has to do their job here, and there cannot be any special circumstances. And this leads into the first article here, and just to kind of summarize that a little bit, from the beginning of this episode, you guys, like, I'm not gonna not speak my mind on things. I just wait to speak my mind on things because I take what I do seriously. And I think, like, there's enough people out there who are, just trying to go viral and trying to get famous and try and gain followers and everything else. And again, to each their own. I'm just not going to approach that way anymore. I'm not going to chase that clickbaitish style posts and stuff, because, like, I actually just want to help the industry at the end of the day. I don't know everything. I'm just a guy out here who's trying to build his dreams, who knows a couple of things about the industry. And I'm fortunate to have a large network of people who know a lot more about the industry, who we can come on here and highlight them. And that's just the stance that I'm going to take. But I'm going to always speak my mind on things. It just might not be instantaneous like others like to do. So, first article here that we are going to break down, you guys, is from ttnews.com. And it is the U.S. lurches towards a shutdown as Senate Dems block the GOP stopgap. Democrats are demanding a boost to healthcare spending while Republicans refuse to go along. And, just to kind of summarize this article here, that the U.S. is facing a possible government shutdown, which seems like it's like every 6 months this is happening, right? After the Senate rejected a GOP-backed short-term funding measure, Democratic senators opposed the stopgap, arguing it failed to address increased healthcare spending. Republicans pushed for a simple continuation resolution to keep the government operations running past the fiscal deadline. The disagreement centers on funding for health programs, especially under the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, which Democrats want bolstered. And then, with no agreement, non-essential federal agencies and workers could be furloughed and many services disrupted out there. So, again, I would say that it's just so irresponsible that this comes up every single year. And it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat-backed Senate, Republican, it doesn't matter. Like, this seems like a constant thing. And, this is why I was such a fan of what Doge was originally set out to do, because, like, I just look at this and I heard this recently at a conference as well. It seems like everybody's strategy, at least in the government, is, hey, let's just raise taxes. That's how we're going to fund it, right? Because for those of you out there who are listening, you guys are all smart people. You understand that the government only runs on taxes, right? And taxes that come from us. And it seems like they can just never figure their shit out. Like, I think it's very simple, because it's like, I look at it like this. If you're running your business, right? Like, say you're doing $10,000 a month in gross revenue, but your expenses every single month are $8,000, right? So then you have $2,000 to play with out there. And if you spend that, right, you're broke. Or even worse, you make $10,000 in a month, you spend $11,000 in a month. And, you might be able to have a credit card or a revolving line of credit that comes along with it. But eventually the bank is going to say enough's enough. They're going to shut off your credit card. They're going to close your line of credit. They're going to repossess your business assets. And then, furthermore, if you have a personal guarantee on it, they'll come for your house. They'll come from any way to get that money. But for some reason, this doesn't apply to the federal government. And our industry here, the DOT, the FMCSA, a lot of them are going to get shut down in it because, like, in my opinion, the majority of them are non-essential workers. Is that's essentially what it's going to do, right? They're going to go down to military, stuff like that, critical infrastructure. And I just don't think that everybody inside of the FMCSA or the DOT is safe from this, right? So I look at it as here we are, we're in another situation where the government's not doing their job, and it's going to affect our industry because eventually, like with the enforcement of ELP and all of that stuff that comes along with it, it's not going to get dealt with because there's not going to be anybody out there doing that job, because like ultimately, once we scale it back even further, they need to go after the CDL issuance, right? Like at the state level and stuff like that. Because the department, like the people who are issuing the CDLs in some of these certain states that aren't required to verify their work, they might get laid off and stuff like that. So I look at the trickle down effect that comes along with it. And again, here we are. It's highly irresponsible. And I just wish more people would call out for what it is, right? And again, this isn't a partisan thing. This is just a shitty leadership thing at this point, that this is an every single year kind of thing. And any one of us out there in the real world, if we didn't balance our budget and eventually, your credit card gets canceled or your bank note gets called and you got to go in there and you got to pay the piper at some point, but that doesn't apply here. They just keep kicking the can down the road, and then it puts government entities out of furlough. They're shut down, and God knows what that's going to happen. But it's like I just look at it that again, we just got to call it for what it is. And this is just one of the top stories out there. There is an October 1st deadline. So pay attention to that, you guys. There's a lot of stuff that could come down yet. And I'm sure, just like always, they'll just miraculously come up with the money and increase spending. And then it'll all come out of our pockets here in the long run. But let me see here. Next article, you guys. And that article was from ttnews.com. Talking about the budget shutdown and in regards to transportation and stuff and the entities out there that could be affected by that. Next article, you guys, is from the JOC, JOC.com. Truckload carriers capturing more LTL shipments, says FedEx Freight. The less than truckload sector is seeing some of its freight volume shift into full truckload. Two main causes are cited: excess capacity in the truckload market and relatively low truckload rates. These make it economical for shippers to consolidate more freight into full loads rather than shipping smaller LTL loads. And then as more shipments shift from LTL to truckload, overall, our LTL volumes are obviously being depressed because the freight's just shifting. It's not necessarily leaving. This is affecting carriers like FedEx, and then the shift has implications for pricing in both truckload and LTL. And then FedEx quarterly results reflect this trend. Some of their expected LTL volume growth was muted due to the shippers choosing truckload alternatives, right? But I also feel like, this is how a free market will always operate, right? Like the businesses out there who are footing the bill are always going to look for the most cost-effective way to ship their product out. And it is obvious that this is going to continue to happen. And then frankly, again, I can't speak for every single LTL pricing out there, but I've seen what some of these LTL rates get when you're like above 4 or 6 pallet spaces, right? Like you're paying sometimes triple of what you would for a full truckload drive-in, for example, right? Like I don't have every single data point out there, but just in my experience in pricing actual freight, because, I actually do the job I talk about on this show every single day, you guys, I've seen that, right? Like I've seen LTL rates come across to move even 6 pallets, and you can throw that on a partial at that point for half the price sometimes, right? Like it's insane. And that's where the opportunity is always going to get. So for you crafty freight sales reps out there who are possibly moving full truckload more than LTL, and you have your customer who says that they're LTL heavy, I would start asking them, hey, like what volume LTL opportunities are you using via your providers? And then maybe you can go in and find a way to save them a little bit of money on that, right? Most shippers are on top of their stuff, but not everybody is. And I think like that's where an opportunity will always lie in any freight market. Now, it might not be the most beneficial way to get in the door with a shipper, but I feel like anytime you have a trusting relationship with a customer, it is your responsibility as a sales rep to bring different modes of transportation to their attention, right? Because I have this conversation and had this conversation, and I'll have this conversation again in the future. All of my customers at one point have directly said, we are not a transportation company. We are a manufacturer. That is why we hire you. They expect us as providers to bring this information to them. So if you're not doing that, here is a major opportunity. Anytime your customers are out there, and this is one of those strategies that we've implemented inside of our business here as well. Again, Freight Coach Logistics, you guys, we're a broker. We do open deck, we do heavy haul, over-dimensional stuff like that. We only move flatbed freight. 99% of our freight is that. And we have customers out there who do move a lot of partials. And if the lanes match up where we can go in there and we can load 2 of those partials on one truck and create a 1 pick, 2 drop going into the same region, I can save them money off of that. And I will explain to them, it will be exponentially more expensive for you to ship these out as 2 partials. If there's any way we can combine any of these shipments together, we can deliver real cost savings to you. And that is something that I think everybody should be doing as a broker, as a carrier. You should be looking at these small shipments, adding them all up there, seeing what it would be to be a 1 pick, 3 drop full truckload at that point. And I feel like there's a lot of savings that you can deliver to your customers, because like you might not be able to compete on a 1 pick, 1 drop power lane line haul style run out there, but you can get crafty with some of their smaller shipments, some of their shipment consolidations, you guys. And then all you got to do is be able to add, right? 53 feet of a trailer, add it up, make sure they all fit, and then deliver that stuff down. So I think like this is one of those ones where, this is a cost trade-off for shippers at the end of the day. Now, and then another thing too, I found that it's a lot more, transit time is a lot more favorable when you do a 1 pick, 2 drop like full truckload, as opposed to just throwing it on an LTL, which could take 3 days. There could be 7 different cross-docking points. Look at the exponential increase in damage that could happen, not say that it is. So again, as a sales rep, you got to go out there and educate your customers on this, because there's a lot of opportunity that I feel like a lot of people are just leaving on the table. And again, I could financially benefit in the other direction, but I'm not going to do that, right? I want customers for life. I want them to look at the service that we're providing as a true value add. I want to make all of my customers look at their transportation spend as a direct line of profit to their business. Yes, it does cost them money to ship it, but they know that when they're shipping it with me and my company, it leads to repeat business from the customers that we're delivering it to. And, I look at it is this is, there are margin implications that can happen for this, right? But I also look at it for the LTL carriers anyways. Excuse me. But I look at it this is where people can go in and compete at a higher level and bring different opportunities to your guys' customers. And, I look at it like there is a capacity risk that could come along with it. Then LTL could get the bullwhip effect of now going in and they're going to go in and reduce their prices and everything else. Like that could happen from it, right? But I also look at it is as a sales rep of any organization, whether it's LTL, FTL, it doesn't matter. It's your fiscal responsibility to bring the most cost-effective way to ship your customers' product to their customers. And, I also look at it that, again, speed is everything, you guys. That is the name of the game. That's always going to be the name of the game, safe and legal, of course. But, LTL, intermodal, stuff like that, it could take additional days. And if your customer isn't concerned about the length of haul, they're more concerned about the price, then yeah, your LTL and your intermodal is going to be probably the best suited, depending on the size and scope of the shipment for LTL. But I also look at it is if you're playing in the truckload space, partial truckloads, sprinter vans, right? There's some customers out there, you guys, that they're not even aware of what a sprinter van is. And you can go out there and bring them. It might be a little bit more money, but you can get them their product 5 times faster than an LTL, pulling that 5 times number out of thin air. But I look at it as there's just different ways that you guys can go about it. And customers are going to inevitably shift into one direction or another with their freight. And you need to be the one presenting it to them as a sales rep. So I am not surprised by this article at all. I am not surprised that LTL, especially FedEx, is seeing a dip in volume because their customers are exploring other opportunities. And every single one of you should be delivering that level of service to your guys' customers. So third, and that article, joc.com, you guys, if you want to check it out, truckload carriers capturing more LTL shipments. And that was from FedEx Freight. So check that one out. And then the third and final article that we saw today is from cdllife.com. This one's a doozy. Trucking company owner arrested for key role in elaborate rebuild of stolen trucks. Summary of this article, Lionel Diaz, he is the owner of Easy H Transport, has been arrested by Florida authorities for orchestrating a scheme to rebuild stolen commercial vehicles with fraudulent paperwork. The investigation was led by Florida's Office of Agricultural Law Enforcement since 2023 and uncovered that Diaz was linked to at least 4 semi-trucks that had counterfeit VINs, falsified repair records, and fraudulent title applications, all in an effort to conceal that the rigs were stolen out there. And then the nature of this crime, essentially, you guys, if you've lived under a rock your entire life, most vehicles have what's called a VIN number. And in some of these instances, they're very easy to spot and replace. I don't do it, but if you've been alive for more than 5 minutes, that is not very challenging of that. And then, he's like, essentially they're going out there, they're stealing equipment, they're replacing the VINs, they're coming up with fraudulent paperwork, and then they're putting it out there. And, for me, it just undermines, it's another thing, you guys, that is making it harder and harder for the people who are doing the right thing out there to survive. Because again, what do you have to run a truck for that you stole, right? Like at the end of the day, you steal a truck and trailer, you don't have a truck and trailer payment, right? What can you run for out there and stuff like that? I also just look at it again, that it's going to go back, and this ties in ELP from earlier. The case illustrates vulnerabilities in the system. You guys, title issuances, VIN verifications, repair records integrity. It suggests for stronger oversight, greater fraud detection, and stuff like that. I don't think we need more oversight. I think we need our government officials to just do their job. All right. They need to do their job at the end of the day. And I feel like with all of the technology and everything that is out there, something like this should be borderline impossible. Just like something like getting a fraudulent CDL issued to you should be borderline impossible at this point if people are actually doing their jobs. And to tie in our original article of breaking down of a potential government shutdown, maybe we should start with being able to fund our government properly, balance this budget out in some way, shape, or form, so none of this stuff can happen at the end of the day. Like, again, we got to hold our elected officials, we got to hold our government agencies to a higher standard out there, you guys, because it starts and stops with society. And I feel like a lot of this stuff that goes on out there, especially in this industry, like there's enough case studies or open questions by the DOT and the FMCSA of like what we should do. In my opinion, they know what they need to do. They just are failing to take actual action. And again, it all ties in. I just look at it as this just ties into a way of them verifying information in their database. And again, I'm not saying we need big government by any stretch of the imagination, but there's got to be pieces of technology that are out there right now that would almost make this borderline impossible, just like your ability to somehow get a CDL in certain states without proving proper documentation out there. But this is going to be it for today, you guys. Check this article out, cdllife.com. Trucking company owner arrested for key role in elaborate rebuild of stolen CMVs, which the fact that we're here as still is mind-boggling, but it's not at the end of the day. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I got more guests coming on this week. And no matter what, you guys go out there, speak your mind, exercise your God-given rights here in this country, you guys. But that's going to be it. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. If you're feeling ambitious after this one, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify. Just look for the Freight Coach podcast out there. And if you scroll into the show notes and you see that link to go for GoFundMe to Sergeant Murphy, and you got $1 or $5 to donate to his family out there, you guys, I would greatly appreciate it. And I know they all would too. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.